Hi everyone, I am Dr. N.Senthil Madasamy, Associate Professor Computer Science and Engineering. Welcome to this session on AWS services and its types for one credit course DevOps Technologies. In this session, topics to be covered is AWS services and its types under Module 3, continuous integration and continuous deployment. At the end of Module 3, the students will be able to automate IT infrastructure. At the end of this session, the students will be able to describe AWS services and its types. In this session, we will see about AWS Global Data Center, AWS Account, Users and Service Scope, AWS Services and its types. Before starting this lecture, I want you understand few things about AWS. First one is AWS Global Data Centers. Whenever we will be using some AWS services, typically we will deploy it in some AWS geographical area. Now that geographic area is called AWS Regions, like in across the world. There are different AWS regions available for us. Like in US, there are 7 regions. In India, there is only one region. In Europe, there is couple of regions. In all, more than 20 regions available. When you deploy services, we can choose which region we need to deploy. Now, every region further is comprised of typically 2 or more data centers for high availability of AWS services, and those data centers are called availability zones. AWS has more than 60 availability zones. We will learn more about it in AWS Global Data Centers. There are something called edge locations. AWS has more than 150 edge locations.
Now each locations are something like catching devices, which are 10 plus cities across the world, and your content like your media, videos and pictures, what you watch maybe on the Facebook or YouTube, they get catched to other nearest locations. AWS has 130 plus services. We are going to learn more about these services in this lecture. So as I said, region is one geographic area. Here the blue area you see is the AWS region, and every region consists of typically 2 or more availability zones for the higher availability of your application. So when you design your architecture, typically you will keep your machine in different availability zones, and if one of the availability zones goes down for some reason, you have your machine running in another availability zone and your application then have the higher availability. AWS account is a top level entity. That means once you have an AWS account, you can deploy your infrastructure in any of the AWS region. So as I said, there are 20 plus regions as of now, and every region comprises of 2 or more availability zones. That is what's shown here now in AWS. There are different services and they have different scope with respect to region. For example, say billing service, it works at an account level. That means at the end of the month you get an AWS bill which you have to pay. Suppose I am an INT and access manager. It also work at account level, which means how many users you want to create, you can create them, and also these users would have access to all AWS regions and availability zones and the services because they have the rights to access. There are more services we talk about shortly, and then some other services like S3, DynamoDB, they work at region level. That means when you create a S3 packet, you select which region you want to create that S3 packet. Then there are further services like EC2, which is an virtual machine. RDS, which is listener database, EBS, elastic block storage, like a disk. All these work at availability zone level.
Now there are so many AWS services. As I said, there are 130 plus AWS services, and we can broadly categorize them into different kind of services such as AWS Compute Services, AWS Analytics Services, AWS Storage and Database Services, AWS Network and Management Services, and AWS Application and Development Services. The different AWS computing services are EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, Auto Scaling, EC2 Horizontal Scaling, Lambda, Serverless Computing, ELP, Elastic Load Balancer, ECS, Elastic Container Service. Different analytic services in AWS are EMR, Elastic MapReduce, Kinesis, Real-Time Data, Video Streaming, Athena, Interactive Query Engine, QuickSight, Business Intelligence, Blue, ETL Service. Different storage and database services in AWS, EBS, Elastic Block Storage, S3 Symbol Storage Service, EFS Elastic File System, RDS Listener Database Services, DynamoDB AWS NoSQL Database, Redshift Data Warehousing, Elasticsearch Fast and Flexible Caching. Different network management services in AWS are VPC Virtual Private Cloud, Route 53 AWS DNS Service, Direct Connect Dedicated Network, CloudFront Content Delivery Network, CloudWatch Application and Infrastructure Monitoring, CloudFormation Provision Infrastructure as a Code. Different AWS application development services in AWS are API Gateway, Managed REST and WebSocket APIs, SQS Simple Query Service, SNS Simple Notification Service, SES Simple Email Service, Code Commit hosted Git repository by AWS, Code Build Continuous Integration Service, Code Deploy Automated Deployments, Code Pipeline Continuous Delivery Service. For the understanding about AWS services, for example, we will take scenario of how we will deploy mini WhatsApp application with domain name of wa.com on AWS. So let's see. First thing, this is private network. What you see here in AWS world, it is called VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. So it is not exactly the way it is shown here, because all some of these services are outside the VPC, but I can't accommodate that in a diagram. But considerably, VPC has one private isolated network that AWS gives you. Then you would have to manage all the public network for web servers, load balancer, and private network for databases. VPC is a network service. Now all these VMs that we are talking about is are nothing but EC2, that is Elastic Compute Cloud machines, right? And disk that we attached, it's called EBS, that is Elastic Block Storage. Further, for relational databases, there is a service called RDS, and for NoSQL databases, there is a service called DynamoDB. For DB caches, there is a service called Elastic Caches Service. Further, as you see, there is a load balancer. So in Amazon, there is a service called ELP, Elastic Load Balancer service, which can distribute the incoming traffic to multiple backend EC2 machines like this. If you want to have your domain name mapping with your load balancer. Then you need a DNS service which is called Route 53. We have the external storage. It is an S3 service of Amazon Simple Storage Service, which is unlimited storage. You can just go on dumping the data, and it is accessible over the internet directly, and there is no size limitation how much data you can store in your S3 buckets. Also, you need some content filter, so there is in service called recognition, which can find out an object and images, and it can filter them before you upload it to S3 bucket. Okay. Now, as I said, you need some kind of service where your videos from one format get converted into another format like MP4 or to some mobile friendly format. There is better option like Lambda service. Now let's talk about this clickstream analysis. Now for the clickstream analysis, there is a service called Kinesis which can capture your clickstream data. Then you can analyze the data. You can even for the store the data in S3. You can do much more with whatever data you capture right now for this Spark or EMR. Hadoop platform, there is a service called EMR to perform operations like aggregation, sorting, and you can run distributed jobs to do ETL. That is the glue service transaction from your DynamoDB tables. You need this glue service for doing this extract, transform, and load operations. Then finally, all this data, what you can store it in the data warehouse service, which is nothing but Redshift in Amazon, which can store petabyte scale of data. Content delivery network, which can catch a static content, and for this in Amazon there is something called cloud front service, which go across 100 plus cities in the world where user is coming, and data is served from that edge location for all the users in that geography. Now let's talk about this side. Also, I said you need to send and messages and mobile push notification in Amazon. That is a service called SNS, Simple Notification Service. And if you want to send emails or a bulk email, then there is an SES service, Simple Email Service. Now for messaging the queues, for chatting application, Amazon has built its own queue service which is called SQA, Simple Queue Service. And finally, to monitor all this infrastructure, how my EC2 is doing, the CPU utilization of EC2, how is the database, all this can be monitored in real time using the service called CloudWatch. I hope you got some idea about all these basic AWS services. Okay. Next, we integrate with this application. For that, they need an REST API service. While we talk about security services in this architecture, now as user must be an IAM user. AWS has the code commit service where they can check in the code. So even cloud formation template is nothing but JSON. If you know about the DEVOPS, you care about the TAM, CI and CDs. So this is continuous integration pipeline or continuous delivery pipeline. The developers are writing the code and checking it automatically, gets build it automatically, tested automatically by code commit and code build services, and deployed automatically by code deploy service into corresponding application servers running in EC2. In the summary of the session, I explained about AWS Global Data Center. I listed various types of AWS services such as AWS Compute Services, AWS Analytics Services, AWS Storage and Database Services, AWS Network and Management Services, AWS Application and Development Services. I also explained various AWS services used for deploying and sample application. I hope you found this lecture is clear about AWS services and its types. Next session topic under Module 3 will be covered in next video lecture. Thank you and have a great day.